So we're going to work on this snowman today, and we'll take our take and paint here, get the ball of his hat a bit wet here, and I'm going to use this color blue, and I'll add this into these areas. I'm going to use the tip of my brush to get into these little fine ends. Actually, it's better to kind of turn it here so that I can get a nice edge there. And pop some more into there. All right, now I can add a little bit more to get some more pigment into this area here. And if it gets a little heavy for you, you can always take your paper towel and just take a clean spot of that and stamp down a little bit. You can still move the pigment around a little. You can also use the tip of your brush to kind of pull some pigment away. Add a little into that area. There you go. Now we're going to work on this hat part here. I'm going to use 2 different colors of blue to give that little texture there to make it look like it's knit. So take this darker blue. Just using the fine tip of this brush and pulling from paint that has more pigment and not a ton of water in it. Now I'll clear my brush and I'm going to use this other color blue. Very similar, but a little bit different hue here. As you can see up here, I saturated this ball of this hat quite a bit, and I have no white of the paper showing through. So I'm going to pull a little bit of that away as it's drying, and I'll add some later after this layer has dried first. Now we're going to go into this fuzzy hat, and I'm going to use less water here. Doing a wet on wet technique. Going out to some of those edges, leaving some white of the paper. I can always come back and fill it in. Just dappling in a little bit of that pigment, making it look fuzzy. You get that fuzzy look when you already have either wet paint down or just clear water when you're adding the paint. And just kind of dab that back into these places around here so I can get more of the look that I have there. Now I'll go ahead and paint his charcoal nose. This is Shadow from my Woodland set. You can make a carrot nose if you want, leaving a little bit of white of the paper just to make it look like it's round. I'm just putting a tiny dot here, leaving some of the white of his eyes. I don't have the lines drawn. You can always go in and use a micron pen ahead of time that's waterproof, or a pencil. Keep in mind, if you paint the pencil, you cannot erase the pencil lines if you paint over them. So sometimes I'll draw and then just lightly erase some of the pencil so that I can still see the line, but that it's not as dark as when you initially draw the line. So I'll just come in here and do some stripes. And that had a lot of pigment in it, so I'm going to move some of that over here. I'll come across this top. I'm putting blue right up here next to what would be the snow in his face here, so that way it'll stand out. That's awfully dark, so I don't want as much pigment there. And now you want to kind of plan where your stripe's going to land so that you've got enough room to kind of finish it out down here. And you don't box yourself in too much. I'm trying to get the tip of my brush sort of pointed out to get a few little fuzzy lines there. This one didn't have too many. Just to make it look like it's got fibers in it. And do the same thing here. Start my brush stroke at the top to give it that fiber look. And I'll finish over here on the side of the scarf, getting some of those stripes where it's tied in a knot. Now we'll work on his body. It's going to be very light. We're doing a light blue here. So depending on what you've got in your box, you may have two blues that you can kind of vary this. Now that's just way too blue, so I'll pull some of that back, move that pigment around. I had a lot on my brush still. And you want to be careful not to get too close to where you've got pigment, like there. It's kind of bleeding. Oop, wrong color. Otherwise, it'll bleed into the pigment will find more water and travel in that direction. And our last little bit here, we want to just get his arm. And let's do his face. Now that that little area here is dry, the nose is dry, just kind of watch you don't get into that. If it's really black, it will bleed all over. You have to take your paper towel on a clean spot to fix that. And I'm going to take a little bit of this Roxbury, very, very watered down. Okay. I'm going to go in now with a clean brush and sort of pull some of this pigment off of those stripes to just make it a little more fuzzy on the lines and give it a little bit of a blue tint. Pull some of that pigment away. And I really like some of the fun ways the water blooms. Some people don't like that, so that's up to you on how you want to figure out your style over time. Let's see. Oh, his cheeks, that was a little bit wet, so it kind of went everywhere. Tried to do it in a hurry. And let's put a little bit of shadow with some blue and come along the bottom here, especially under that snow. And let's see if I can get this. And typically, if you're not trying to hurry up and do a video, you would take time to let it dry in between. And just adding a little bit of shadow can bring a lot of dimension to your painting, so keep that in mind. Oh, why didn't blend these over here? Darken up my nose here. Let's see if I can get these buttons. Add a little bit more to his cheeks here now that that's not quite as wet. Also, something fun you can do after it dries, or I'm just going to go ahead and do it now, is to add this pearlescent into here so that it will sparkle and kind of look like snow. And that's how you would do your snowman.